morning, friends.
Hey, how you doing? Okay, so we're doing this. We're doing this.
Okay,
All
I guess we're on. Yeah.
all right. Yeah, so instantly I'm gonna turn away. Sorry. All right. Yeah. So something else that was a little bit of fun that I got to do. Some random fun is September. We went on vacation. I ended up going to South Carolina, and on the way back, ended up in Point Pleasant, West Virginia for the Mothman Festival. Totally impromptu. Didn't even realize it was happening that weekend that we went, but it was a lot of fun. I didn't get to see any of the guest speakers. I got to meet some of the vendors, authors, and I got to meet Dave Weatherly. And I ended up getting a book, but he's been on Expedition Unknown and like a lot of those Travel Channel shows, cryptids and stuff. But the book I bought one of his books. It actually involves the haunting um, in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, that was associated with an Ed and Lorraine Warren case, Jack and Janet Smurl, the book A Haunting. Um, Great, bad 90s, 80s, whichever TV movie made off of that too. Yeah, so while we were there, just had fun. We actually went back to TNT domes and stuff and the bunkers. I have a lot of pictures of that. We'll share those throughout here as we're talking. But yeah, it was great. And I definitely, definitely also wanted to give a shout out to the Hodag vendors. We stayed in the same hotel as them. They were awesome. And also the couple that I met, Pennsylvania, we have our own exclusive cryptid. Yeah, we know I'm into cryptids. We need to do some more cryptid episodes sometime.
Yeah.
But Pennsylvania, we got Squonk. And I was talking to the people that help the Hodag vendors. They do Squonkapalooza down in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. So I'm thinking I'm keeping my eyes out for that. So definitely when that happens, if they do another one, I was going to plan on going. And also got to meet with some of the people that do the Bigfoot festival in Marionville, Pennsylvania. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm going to be having fun hanging out at the Cryptid Festival circuits this summer. So I've got that to look forward to. And so do you guys if you're into cryptids. So how about real quick, impromptu. What's your favorite cryptid? Tell us in the comments below. Mine is the Pukwudgie. I love the Pukwudgie.
Oh
Do you
man.
got one? Do you got one?
No, I'm gonna have to think about on it, and I'll get back to it.
All right, all
It's
right.
too
So
difficult.
sometimes it's hard to narrow them down too. Like
Yeah.
I'm like fresh off, like Pukwudgie. But I also love the Squonk. I think the Squonk is, fun and
Yeah.
cute. It cries because it's ugly and dissolves itself in its own tears. So, yeah, anyways. So, definitely, if you're the 3rd September, or not the 3rd September, the 3rd weekend of every September, over in
I
Point
mean, I
Pleasant.
guess I was always fond of Nessie.
Yeah, Nessie. And, well, and we also can't forget, the man of the hour, the, Mothman, eh, which is, the candle I got at the, Mothman Museum. Even if it's not, even if you don't go for the Mothman Festival, yeah, sorry. Even if you don't go for Mothman Festival, it's definitely worth taking a trip over just for the museum. The museum was actually really cool. So next year I want to go and I'm hoping to do the guided tours that they have, where they have a bus and they also do a hayride
Hmm.
that take you back, and do the complete tours of like the TNT bunker or domes and all that. But even still, we had fun. Just we were able to walk back there, and I also should mention too, like the street food was really good, and the vendors were awesome. So much just fantastic art too. That I saw, like a lot of folk art, a lot of cryptid art. My son got some prints from there And the artist, I do not remember their name off the top of my head, but we'll have to share the info on the artist, and I'll scan the images for you so you
Mm.
can show those. But yeah, and I got an amazing Mothman, couple posters from the Mothman Museum. And yeah, definitely had fun. So even if you're on a road trip and you end up near Point Pleasant, just stop. It's a nice little town too. And you can't miss any of the Mothman Museum,
Mm.
the statue. It's all very much up front. Oh, and I'm almost forgetting the most important part. I am now a member of the Shiny Heiny Club because I touched the Mothman's butt. It's a true story.
Very exclusive club there. Yeah.
It is an exclusive club. Well, what's funny is like, I didn't even realize that it was its own meme until we got into the museum. And then you have like the shirts that are like, Shiny Heiny Club member and stuff. And I was just laughing when I took the picture because the line to get a picture with the front of the Mothman's huge. It's huge, but like nobody's by his butt. So yeah. Didn't realize I made myself a meme in the process. I thought I was being clever. So not the first. But yeah, no, definitely had a blast there. And I'm looking forward to the other places. So yeah,
Yeah, sorry,
maybe
I just had to go free my dog from the tree garland again.
you're fine. He's having an issue with that today, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like whining over there. I'm like, oh shit.
I did not do a tree this year because 4 cats and a dog.
Yeah.
It ends up in disaster. So, I end up having to come down and pick a tree up in the middle of the night, and the cat's like, oh, I didn't realize it was going to fall.
Odin just uses it as a back scratcher. It's a very fancy, large back scratcher.
I have a living room plague doctor still, though. Still have a plague doctor in the living room. So I'm thinking I might just put a Santa hat on him. And yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we also added ourselves. We're, fast approaching upon Christmas. And oh yeah, we have the winter solstice in a couple days. So that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Not really, because it already got dark here at like 4:30. So I'm like, hey,
It's just dark all the time.
yes.
I'm like, is it 5 p.m. or 5 a.m.? Because it's dark both.
Yeah. Yeah. And I work nights sometimes, so that kind of screws with me as to is it 7 in the morning or 7 at night? Oh my God, am I late for work? I gotta be there. Let's go with self.
Oh, there it is. Unsolved Mysteries Behind the
Ah,
Legacy. It's
okay.
an hour long.
He was in 294 episodes, spanning from 1987 to 2002.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a TV track record. That's up there with like Alex Trebek for Jeopardy, which, I'm sure he'd be.
Yeah.
Jeopardy
And
was weak.
and like I didn't have TV a couple of those years, those last years, like in college, so I didn't even realize until recently,
Right.
that he was
Yeah, the
still doing
newer one.
them, in the early 2000s.
There was a show, and I used to end up watching it. Like this was like, yeah, college years. And for some reason I could get this one on with rabbit ears, and it was on our local like KDKA station, and it was on Saturday nights, and it was like I want to say like unexplained mysteries. But it was like the unsolved mysteries of just like paranormal nature and stuff. And I'll never forget, and this is so stupid. And I don't know why I'm gonna go on this tangent, but I am. It wasn't until later, post college, I'm home and I'm pregnant with my first son. And, Saturday night I fell asleep, and I think I was probably watching like whatever late night was on at the time, and fell asleep, and started to have like a issue with sleep paralysis, which is terrifying enough, but even more so terrifying when you're like 8 months pregnant, right? But then when you start to really come to
Mhm.
and you're aware of your surroundings, and the episode of this show is alien fetal harvesting.
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Ugh." And yeah, so I have to officially say like that was one of the worst sleep paralysis issues that I've ever had because I've had an issue with this in, off and on throughout my entire life.
Mhm.
And what brings this to mind is I actually had an episode a couple weeks ago and I haven't in years. And so I'm kind of attributing it to for a while there at my previous job, I had like a more fairly consistent day schedule.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
now
that
that
does
I'm
it.
actually back to bartending at the Shamrock again, um, I'm flip-flopping between my schedule. And so yeah, it was just really weird. But what made it even stranger is that a couple weeks after I had my incident with sleep paralysis, my significant other had a issue with sleep paralysis, and this was like the first time ever that he's had this happen. So
Hmm.
like he knows he's seen it from the outside with me having it, the few times that I've actually been able to wake him up. So for him, it was like even more terrifying, like, yeah. And and I know like I don't see an old hag or anything like that. And I know in my case, it is not paranormal in nature. We've lived in the same house. Mine is I've always had sleep issues throughout my entire
Yeah.
life, back and forth between like insomnia and whatnot. And so yeah, like this has happened since my youth. But yeah, it was just so weird though that like a couple weeks later, he had one. He's like, "Oh my God, that was absolutely terrifying." And I was like, "Yeah, it gets weird, which I think, and here's something that you could be helpful to chime in with. I think over the years too, what helped decrease my panic when that happens is the practicing of lucid dreaming. So, at this point, like when it starts to happen, like I can tell my body, like, okay, this is what's going on. Just breathe, 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 breathe.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Found it. New Frontiers of Lucid Dreaming by James Bray,
yes,
which I've been meaning to review. But he goes into a lot of it, like the non-paranormal view of it. Basically, supplements and like things you can do to induce that, and sort of it can help you to get out of that.
right,
And I certainly have more lucid dreams like these days. Like I seriously had one, like my dog Augie died in August, right? And I've had dreams that he's back, but like I know I'm dreaming and I know he's dead. So
right,
I'm like petting him in the dream, but you know,
right,
but it's
right.
a lucid dream. And yeah, that's also a way to get out of like nightmares and to get out of
Yeah,
the
that is
paralysis.
something I've always coped with because, I had like the sleep paralysis issues and then night terrors, which also led to the insomnia,
Hmm.
you know. My insomnia wasn't a result of like I can't sleep. It was enforced because like I was afraid to go to sleep. And so early on, like working with lucid dreaming and some of those techniques, just helped me cope with that. But
Yeah, the one is like dream-induced lucid dream, which is the first time I ever remember having one. And I was
right,
like 6 or 7 years old. And what it was me and the neighbor in the dream were tobogganing down the steps in my house. And I thought to myself, this is fucking weird. So I
right,
realized I was dreaming. And like, bam,
right.
that was it. And that was like the first one I had.
See, I don't know if I can remember.
So sometimes like the absurdity will kick in.
I think for me, it's the ET dream. And I know I've told you about the ET dream when I was a kid, the ET chocolate milk. And I remember like being a kid, which the absurdity of that is, anybody who knows me I was terrified of ET. Terrified of ET. You, as an adult, as a grown adult right now, you could catch me off guard with like the ET sound and I would probably jump out of my chair. But yeah, what was so funny is my childhood fear of ET and yet being excited that ET was at our local grocery store selling me ET chocolate milk. And yeah, and then the lawnmower. And that was it. There was a lawnmower going through the store. And I remember as a child, like child me in the dream was like, I wish that thing would shut up because I can't hear what's going on. And then it was like, but there shouldn't be a lawnmower in the store. And that's when I woke up to discover that it was
Yeah.
grandfather snoring. My grandfather snoring on the couch. I had fallen asleep on the floor. He had fallen asleep on the couch. And yeah, so it was my grandpa's snores that interrupt my. So I think that's close to, like why is there a lawnmower in the store? There's no grass, you know?
Hmm.
And I think now too, there was something about bubbles. There was something about bubbles. Like if you bought the chocolate milk, you got to get into a bubble and float around the store in a bubble. Yeah, that was so I think the only other dream that I've ever had that was that vivid is the dream where my Rosemary's Baby dream where, I had a dream over well, that was at Halloween. I think I told you about that. I was really sick, really sick. Not COVID, didn't have COVID, but I got really sick and I had like a really bad fever. And I think it was a combination of reading Rosemary's Baby and listening to Ghost Song Year Zero too much. That just coincided with me having a weird uh I'm pregnant with the Antichrist baby dream. And yeah, but it was exceptionally vivid. It was really vivid to the point where it was like like in the dream, I'm like, like feeling like, oh, the baby's kicking, and yeah, so it was extremely. And I just remember waking up being like, oh my God. And my cat's like, he was sleeping on my chest and I just sat right up and like flung him, and he's like, what's your problem? But dreams, I it was so funny too, because like there's still so much we don't know about the brain, how it works, why it works, where's what exactly is going on literally between our ears. And yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, and then there's like other things to induce them, like looking at a clock or looking at words and then looking away and then looking back at the words, and if it changes, you're dreaming, but not. I don't know.
I always had the weird focus, and I remember like this was something like even when we were teenagers, because like I think maybe we should frame this a little better for people listening, that this was an interest of yours and mine since like childhood. We were weird kids. We were
Yeah, we
weird
used
kids.
to go to the local
Thought,
library, and there would be like dream books on the.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
hate to say, but you and I have always really kind of been, really into researching the esoterics, growing up
yeah,
and, seeking Bat Boy, esoterics and Bat Boy. But, yeah, so this was something like you and I would, like we would read the same books and we would discuss this. And, now for me, when I first started, it was just the visualize a door, like that was how I would, once I started getting a handle on it,
yeah,
to cope with like the night terrors and stuff. It was always the first door on the left that I took would get me out of the dream.
yeah.
So that was always, like exit stage left. And that, continued. And I still do the you know, exit stage left tactic. Although, and I need to look it up now because I don't remember where I read it, but you can't always trust a .com. I know this, but I'm pretty sure this was like in one of the legit health journals. So I was reading that they started to find a correlation that people who were side sleepers, it would affect the conditions of your dreams too. That like if you were a left sleeper,
Huh.
you were more prone to have nightmares. Right sleepers were more prone for just like, absurd, like, Pablo Capo God, can't talk. Picasso-esque,
I must be a right sleeper. I don't
dolly
know, man.
weirdness, uh, dolly weirdness. And then stomach sleepers were more prone to sexual dreams. And so I know like there was a sleep study done with that. As to the results of it, I can't remember off the top of my
I
head. So,
remember
you
reading
know,
once that if you sleep on your back, that can influence sleep paralysis, or it can be a
yes,
factor, we'll say.
yes. That is yes, a thing. And that's where like normally because I normally sleep on my side.
Hmm.
Um, so but there are times every time that I've ever had an issue
Yeah.
with
Yeah, I remember
sleep
this happening too.
paralysis
Yeah.
was on my back. And then yeah, especially when I was pregnant, because but what was weird about that is how I was like semi propped up, because like at that point, 8 months, everything's getting smashed. And we know I gave birth to Godzilla, um, freaking 8.5 pounds. But yeah, so the back, every time that's always been a correlation for me. So I can agree with that, at least in my own personal experience. I've never had an issue with sleep paralysis on either side. So, and it got to the point too where sleeping for a while, I would have like a body pillow, like multiple pillows,
Hmm.
and kind of corral myself to stay on my side with the cunning use of pillows. So, and that helped for a while.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, like I always noticed for me, it was the combination of irregular sleep schedules, and sleeping
Sleeping
on
on
my
your
back.
back. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, definitely try to always avoid those.
Hmm.
That was a trigger. And at least that was because I know there are some people that, like they've done sleep studies, they've worked with doctors, neurologists, psychologists, um, about, dealing with their sleep paralysis, and they cannot discern a trigger. So, that's what leads to, the old hag uh theories and whatnot, or alien abduction, which I'm not going to say that's not the case for them. It just, I know it wasn't the case for me,
Yeah.
you know. So, yeah. Have you ever had any issues with sleep paralysis? I don't know. I mean, forgive me right now. I don't know if you ever really personally did, not to the extent that I did when we were growing up.
Um, when when I was working night shift at a convenience store in Pittsburgh, yeah, occasionally, but
So
it
the
would
night
always be
shift,
like it would be like my blanket trying to strangle me, and I wouldn't like see anything.
okay,
You'd like feel hands around your neck, sort of thing.
right? But still, it's irregular sleep schedule correlation for you too.
Yeah.
Um, Sleeping on your back. Um, all right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's pretty much the common with most people being on their backs. Um, because other than it's the sensation of the, like the weight crushing your chest, like the old hags on it. And I have lived a very, um, experimental life, so, read between the lines. And so that is after I started getting older and, did a couple shrooms here or whatever,
Hmm.
throughout my life. I think that was the one thing that was able to help me discern to this is a visual hallucination.
Yeah.
You know, like without saying it's the drugs working against you, even though you're not on them right now. You know, it's just your brain working against you.
Yeah.
And I think that actually later in my late teens, early 20s helped me sort out, you know, what the problem was too. You know, like, dude, when I was a kid, though, that shit was the scariest fucking shit in the world because you can't scream, you can't move, you can't, and in your head, you're screaming, you know, but you're not
Mhm.
making sound. And like, yeah, so, and
Well,
this
I
is
think
like,
that goes back to a lot of the sort of metacognition things where you're thinking about your thinking and you're saying, well, is this because of this or is it really happening? Or and you're able to figure it out and calmly and more rationally,
right,
perhaps.
right, right, yes, like now, you know, because I remember, not too often, did I ever have an issue with it, with the breathing. You know, I've always been able to breathe.
Yeah.
Most often at times I am actually hyperventilating, which isn't helping either,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm just not aware that I'm like, you know, full on like, you know, panic mode, hyperventilating, which was really funny because that was a thing that my significant other was, he was like, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. And it was like, no, you were breathing. See, I actually woke up because I'm a late sleeper, but
Hmm.
what helped that night was he managed to like twitch his fingers, and it was right on the underside of my arm, like the way we were laying in bed. And so it actually was tickling me, and I thought it was the cat. Because our cat Oscar always sleeps with
Yeah.
us, the pillow prince. Oscar the pillow prince,
Mm.
who is the most spoiled cat in the world. He sleeps on a fluffy memory foam pillow with a satin pillowcase in the middle of a California king bed. Yeah, so anyways, but the pillow prince was sitting there or sleeping. And so the combination of him moving and making noise, you know, also disturbed the cat. And so he has a great habit of when he wakes up, he loves to poke you in the face. So yeah, that got the cat going. And so it was like, by the time I was able to wake up and just be like, oh, hey, you okay?
Mm.
You know, yeah. So, but yeah, like he full on experienced like the whole like weight on my chest, couldn't breathe. And it was like, no, you were breathing because I could hear him mumbling once I started to, and he was like, I was trying to yell. And I'm like, yeah, it seems like it. It seems like you're, you know, like you're screaming in your head and nobody can freaking hear you. You know, like I've had cases where it has taken me longer to shake it than, you know, other times. And like I wake up and like I'm full on like tears, like crying, you know, and stuff. And just yeah. Because it sucks when you feel absolutely helpless in your own body. So
Yeah, see, I don't get so much the can't scream, can't breathe things, but sometimes I get this weird situation where I'm trying to walk in the dream and I can't, and like it doesn't work quite right, like a sluggish.
hmm.
I don't know. Like I'm
Yeah,
trying. That's it. I'm trying to run, but
okay,
I can only walk at like a snail's pace.
right. Yeah, see, I honestly couldn't even tell you, like, you know, because there's no dreaming for me is few and far between. Or I'm not saying dreaming for me is few and far between. Um, Remembering
Hmm.
my dreams for me is few and far between. And what's nice is over the years too, courtesy of like my Fitbit and sleep trackers and stuff, I don't hit REM sleep adequately like a person's supposed to.
Hmm.
So, you know, like my deep sleep time is like kind of limited. So I don't get the as often dreams as you know, like is supposed to happen anymore. And like it used to not be like that, but it's like as I've gotten older, that's what it's become. But I also think too, it's also working weird schedules, being tired, you know, and just like, I'm out,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So
Yeah, I'm just still in the habit of like writing them down in this every morning.
the sleep journals,
Yeah.
I yeah, I was always terrible with keeping one of those. Then it just became like a wake up and like text the first person I can manage to text, like, dude, I just had a weird dream.
Mm.
Uh, that'll usually,
And a lot of them are like musical theater dreams.
oh
So
God.
everybody's singing and dancing. And sometimes it's about things like necrophilia.
Okay.
But they're, it's all very it's all very flamboyant.
Right. Uh,
Oh God.
sorry. Oh my God. I'm trying to be serious too, and it's not working.
So anyway, if we haven't mentioned it before, I uploaded some of the old episodes to a Red Circle site, and it's like Red Circle slash show slash something, and I'll put that, in the description or on screen since I don't know what it is right now.
redcircle.com/shows/creepy and weird podcast. But we got to put the hyphens in between. So yeah. Look them up.
Okay.
And yeah, so start checking it out over there. Hopefully we're going to try and get some more content over there and work on a audio only format. So
Yes, and some people had been asking for that.
yes. And anyways, thanks for listening. Hopefully we got something